easy is it when you have those for sure 2 starters?
Those are the guys that obviously coming out of camp have established themselves as the starters, really coming out of spring. Those guys, both of them, and Beasley and Pee Wee, had really good camps. And not just the starters, but two of the leaders on our side of the ball on defense. So it's exciting to see those guys, obviously prepare and hopefully go out and have a great game on Saturday.
Brian, looking at Virginia's offense, seems like they got a new quarterback, some transfer, and maybe a lot of new pieces around him. What's the challenge of preparing for some guys that you may not have seen on film, or the new pieces they're going to have?
Yeah, I think it's always a challenge because they're so different than what we face on offense, in a day-to-day period. And obviously they have the new pieces, a new quarterback. I thought the young man they had last year was dynamic as a thrower and a runner. The Musket kid that they named a starter that transferred from Monmouth. When you watch his film, he has a lot of the same qualities. He's very, very athletic, throws a really, really nice deep ball, and seems to have that savvy and that poise of a really good quarterback. So we know we have our challenges there. And then their slot receiver, the Washington kid that transferred from Northwestern. He shows some explosiveness, good ball skills. So we've had a chance to watch those guys on tape, and they're going to be a challenge, obviously to defend.
Right. Well, yeah. Right.
Yeah, you rotated linebackers last year. You obviously have more this year. What goes into kind of managing a rotation of guys in game? How do you go about that process?
Our goal is for every play that those guys are out there, and I think this is defensive wide, is we want those guys to give 100% effort, and we want them to empty their tank. I've always felt like if guys did not feel like they were going to get replaced and have a chance to rest, that they always kind of hold back. And we want those guys to give everything they have, empty their tank, play 100 miles an hour, knowing that they could come back to the sideline, rest, and get a chance to go back. And I feel like for us, we always want to be the fastest and freshest team going into the fourth quarter. And I think the only way you can do that is if you get those guys, the rest that they need. And I shouldn't say rest, give them the breaks, because if we're getting in the 80, play range, that's hard for guys to do that consistently, and be able to play at their highest level.
Vince?
What are some of the skill sets that Arion Carter has that you think can help him get on the field for you guys pretty early?
Arion's an explosive kid, super athletic, was committed to a Division I school as a running back, so you see the athleticism there, but the poise, the maturity, he's shown all those things, which has put him in line to, play early. He played on Saturday and get a chance to go out there, and I'm excited to go out to see what he can do in a full, first college football game.
Coach back here, I'm curious, what conversations, if any, have you had with the players about the new clock rule, with the clock not stopping on first downs outside of 2 minutes in each half?
Coach Hype has done an unbelievable job, one of the best head coaches I've been around with presenting those situations on both sides of the ball. So when we do our situational scrimmages and when we are, setting up practices, he puts us in those situations so we're prepared on both sides of the ball. And we've done that several times in this fall camp. So we feel like we'll be prepared. But like I said, as Coach Hype, and he's done a great job with that because, like I said, it affects both sides of the ball. So we feel like we'll be prepared when that situation comes up.
Patrick?
Brian, how much more ready do you think Elijah Herring is to play a bigger role than maybe he was going into his freshman season?
I've seen him mature, and I think that's the key, phrase with him. I think he's a big, strong kid, has some athleticism, but I think the game probably moved a little fast for him last year. I think it's slowed down to the point now that he understands how to play linebacker as far as reading, his keys and understanding formations and situations. I've seen him grow there. Still has a ways to go, which everybody does, but we would feel 100 times more comfortable putting him in the game because I think he understands, the task at hand of playing linebacker now.
Brent and Vince?
Why does Keenan Pee Wee fit this defense so well?
Keenan, I think, is a versatile linebacker that can fit a lot of defenses because he's a big, strong, physical linebacker, but he's also athletic enough that he can play out in space, and he runs, very, very well for someone his size. Obviously, the experience helps. He's played a lot of football, through his college career, and he brings that element to our defense. And I would say this, the poise. When things could be going haywire, he's the same guy from, play 1 to play 20. And I think the other guys feed off of that when you have a leader that doesn't, let the emotions of the game get to him and kind of brings everybody back down to a level where we can go execute.
Obviously, your group is connected to the front and also the back end.
Yes, sir.
How have you seen that connection, that cohesion as a defense overall play out in camp and improve, including your linebacking group, with all that working together?
It's with the linebacker group, and you said it best. We have as much responsibility in the passing game as we have in the running game. We always say when the ball's thrown, we're connected, with the defensive backs when that ball gets downfield because of our underneath coverage or our man coverage, and then obviously with stopping the run, we are the guys that plug the holes when the defensive line, who's been doing a great job of getting that push upfield. So it always starts with all 11, and we have to be the guys that tie everything together. And with us, what we've talked about is communication. I think that's one thing we've grown, as a defense, with communicating across the board between the secondary, the linebackers, and the linebackers relaying the call, and then vice versa, communicating with the front, relaying that call to the secondary. I think we've grown there, and I think that's made us better as a whole unit.
Finn and Casey.
Seems like Jeremiah Thielander had a nice camp. What allowed him to do so?
Jeremiah's, coach's kid. His dad, coached, Steve Thielander coached, Power 5 football and was a coach for a long time. You can see those traits in him. He kind of grew up with the game, as a youngster. So he has those natural skills where maybe he sees things that other young players don't. And the other thing I'll say about him, he's aggressive. He's one of those see ball, hit ball guys, and he's gonna try to run through a wall, gonna make a tackle, and that aggression shows and helps him make plays. So we've been, thrilled with Jeremiah and his ability, and he's one of those kids that we think is gonna have a chance to play for us and help us this year.
You touched on it a little bit, but what has Keenan Pee Wee done specifically in fall camp to prove himself as a starter on this team?
It always comes down to production. That's the number one thing for us. Knowing where to be and knowing the defense. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But when the ball snaps, can you be in position to make plays, whether that be in the passing game or versus the run? And he's done that on a consistent level. He's like I said, he's been a breath of fresh air because he's one of those kids that's asked the right questions, wants to know how he can get better every day, and he's done a whale of a job since he's been here. Fitting into our system. Obviously getting to know his teammates, and like I said, bringing that leadership role. Per se, because of his experience and the type of person that he is.
Last question, Wes.
Right. How much has linebacker as a position changed from the days when you played it? And now, has the game changed enough at the high school level to where you're generally able to get a pretty good look at some of these guys and how they're going to fit? Because it just seems like everyone's got to be a little sideline to sideline now.
Yeah, with the evolution of the game, the game has turned into a sideline to sideline, game. It's one of those things where I think the guys that were playing safety 20 years ago, those are your outside linebackers and stack linebackers now. And the guys that were, your big linebackers now are kind of your defensive ends and more tied to the front. You still want to find the biggest, fastest, most physical guys that can execute at a high level. But I think that's the biggest difference is with the offenses nowadays, they're gonna get you in space, and you're gonna have to find guys that can make tackles and not just a phone booth. They're gonna have to make a tackle in the living room. They're gonna have a lot of space where those guys can move around. So we have to be able to find guys that can execute in the passing game, obviously to defend, really fast Alvin Kamara type running backs, and feel comfortable that they can stop the run when that ball is getting run in between the tackles. So it's a unique position to be in. I enjoy the new way you coach the game. You mentioned when I played, like guys played with fullbacks and tight ends, and they broke a huddle after every snap. Like that's dinosaur ages now. You have to be able to play out in space and really play sideline to sideline now.
Thank you.